Okay, let me start the recording also in case they want. Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Vadhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktirbhavati Naistiki. Okay, so it's a nice section. Let me share my screen. So I came to know about this class only yesterday, so I prepared something quickly. Let us go through. But it's a nice section though still. I'm happy that I got this service. So we're going to cover 4 chapters in Canto 10, chapter 69 to 72. Yeah, it's a very nice section. So let me go through. So I could not put a lot of pictures because I had a very little time. I came to know yesterday evening only. So basically, the first chapter is titled, the 69th chapter is titled, Narada Muni visiting Lord Krishna's palaces in Dvaraka. So as you know, the overall context, I'll go to the overall context of this chapter. Overall context of this chapter is Krishna defeated Narakasura in the previous chapters, and he married another 16,100 queens now because they were in captive by Narakasura. So now, after marrying them, then Narada wanted to see how is he managing 16,100 wives at the same time. He was a little curious. So that is the context wherein Narada Muni wanted to visit Dvaraka. So he comes to visit Dvaraka. That is what is going on in the context wise. We know Narada Muni is the transcendental spaceman. He can go anywhere, anytime, wherever he wants, even in material world and spiritual world, both, because he has a spiritual body. So that's what is discussed. So that the context is that Narada Muni is visiting Dwaraka to see how is Krishna dealing with so many wives at one time like that. So it's a wonderful section. What we will do is this chapter is like titled like this, and there are some of the daily activities of Krishna are described in this chapter, and some of them are described in the next chapter. So I'll basically summarize both of them together, and then extract some lessons for us. And not only lesson for this chapter, what are the high level lesson we can have whenever we're hearing Krishna Leela? How are we supposed to take it when magnificent things are done by Krishna? Uh, how are we supposed to take it? How are we supposed to apply in our life? That's what we'll discuss. So going further, let me see if we, yeah, good. This is the overview of this chapter where Narada Muni comes to Dwaraka and Krishna receives him. That's the first section. And then comes to Narada Muni first visits the first palace he visits is Rukmini Devi's palace, where Krishna is there with Rukmini Devi. And then after that, Narada Muni visits the palace of Satyabhama. And after that, he visits different other palaces where Krishna is there. And then finally, we hear the section where Lord satisfied Narada Muni and Narada Muni leaves. So that's the overall view. When Narada Muni comes to Dwaraka, first several verses are describing, okay, this first point is what we discussed, the context, why Narada Muni wanted to see. He wants to see how is he managing the grostha, the household affairs with so many wives basically in a single body. So this section describes the beauty of Dwaraka city, how everything is very opulent. Actually, the next section also it goes on. There are beautiful parks, beautiful gardens, there are beautiful lakes, beautiful roads, even beautiful traffic is also beautifully arranged, is described. Interesting. They don't have traffic congestion probably. And 900,000 royal palaces are there. How they're all, I think next slide will have the detail. Yeah. So when like that, beautiful atmosphere is there, that is opulent is described. And then the next section starts with Narada Muni visiting the palace of Rukmini Devi. Rukmini Devi palace is also beautiful. In fact, Krishna had one palace for each of the 16,108 queens. Remember, he already had 8 queens that you might have discussed already. And then 16,100 queens also he married now. For all 16,108 queens, he has a beautiful palace. And you can imagine the opulence they're describing here in Bhagavatam. They have coral pillars. Coral is one of the gems. Some ladies use as ornaments also. Coral pillar, but it's very costlier ornament. Coral pillars, gems. They decorated with Vaidurya gems, it seems. And then sapphire stones are in walls. Those are super costly in this Kali Yuga at least. So there are so many well-dressed maid servants who are ready to serve Krishna, Rukmini Devi, anybody. All the queens, they're ready to serve. So many well-dressed maid servants, it seems. And then not only that, there were soldiers, guards who were in proper uniform, like armor-clad uniform, ready to protect. There's nothing can happen to them like that. In fact, sometimes our acharyas describe having the soldiers is a sign of to protect like gods is a sign of like celebrity status we know in the Kali Yuga, for example. Like that, even in the first canto, when the situation comes where Krishna is leaving from Hastinapur, going to Dvaraka, that time also Prabhupada indicates that how is not that he sends a whole bunch of army with Krishna. What is the purpose? That is the status of royal status. He wants to engage in Krishna service like that. So that's why armor-clad guards are also there. And there are peacocks dancing on the roofs, it seems. And interestingly, from the palace, inside the palace, on top of the roofs, there's smoke coming from agru incense, it seems. When the agru incense smoke is coming, the peacocks are mistaking that as clouds, it seems. And then because by seeing the clouds, they're dancing on the roofs. Like that is a joyful atmosphere, and everything is very opulent like that. And then another important point is Rukmini Devi, even though there are so many maid servants he could have, they could have, they serving Rukmini Devi, they serving Krishna, but Rukmini Devi personally served Krishna. When Narada Muni entered, Rukmini Devi was personally fanning him with yak-tail fan, it seems. So that is another important principle. Even Chaitanya Charitamrita, this principle is glorified, that how queens don't think, oh, see, I'm the queen of Krishna. I'm so great. They're not proud like that. What they're doing is they're personally feeling like I'm just maid servant of Krishna. As long as I can serve Krishna somehow to please him, my life is successful. Like that they're thinking. So they're always serving. It is described, they even clean everything is clean there, but still they clean to engage in service of Krishna like that. They clean the palace like that. So that's how Rukmini Devi is personally serving Krishna by fanning him, it says. And then Krishna sees Narada Muni. As soon as he sees Narada Muni, actually this happens many times in this section. As soon as he sees Narada Muni, he personally gets up immediately from the bed where he was sitting. And he offers obeisances by bowing his head and by joining his palms like that. And he offers a seat to Narada Muni. He washes Narada Muni's feet like we do foot bath like that. And basically, this happens many places. Wherever Narada Muni goes to every palace, Krishna is there and he's doing that. So he takes care of Narada Muni like that. And then basically, one of the principles offered here is according to scriptural regulations, he accepted the guest. He honored the guest, it seems, Brahmana. Because Krishna is Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmane Itacha. Krishna loves Brahmanical culture. So Krishna wants, Krishna by personal example also is showing how to respect Brahmanas, and he loves when we respect Brahmanas also. So that's what is being shown here. So he functions like that, setting example for us. And he received Narada Muni nicely and he offered a seat to him. And then Narada Muni starts to describe how he starts to glorify Krishna. He says, you show friendship to all the people, yet you subdue the envious also. Your glories are widely sung. Basically, the intent is, even though you're subduing envious people, you're actually doing it for their benefit only. Like Krishna killing demon is benefiting the demons. Sorry. Like that, Narada Muni is glorifying him. Then he glorifies his lotus feet. Now I've seen your lotus feet, can you please favor me so that I'll constantly be thinking of you while I'm traveling here and there. So please give me that constant remembrance of you. Like that, he's praying. Uh, Narada Muni prays to Krishna. Then go to the next slide. Yeah. In the next section, after visiting this Rukmini palace, he wants to see how is Satyabhama doing, what is happening there. So he goes to Satyabhama's palace now. Interestingly, he sees Krishna there also again. Basically, this section is telling us Krishna is not like an ordinary human being like some people might incorrectly think. Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he manifested himself in the same form in 16,108 forms for himself. That's how he manifested himself in same form like that. We hear in Brahma Vimohan Lila, he expands himself as different forms, for example. Like when Brahma stole the calves and the cowherd boys, he expands as the calves and expands as the cowherd boys like that. But in this case, he's expanding as himself personally. And even you might have heard when he's getting married to 8 queens at once also, that time also is indicated that he expanded himself as multiple same forms and then married them like that. Like that, Krishna is showing his opulence that is not ordinary. He is exhibiting his opulence that is his transcendental personality is beyond any of our imagination or conceptions like that. He has inconceivable potencies. In fact, Jiva Goswami says, if somebody needs to accept Krishna as Supreme Lord, the first step is that they need to understand, they need to accept that Krishna has unlimited, inconceivable potencies. Then only we can understand a little bit about Krishna, like that he says. So that is being shown here. So Narada Muni witnessed this Yogamaya potency from the master of this mystic power like that. And in one of the palace, he was playing dice with in this palace, he was playing dice with Satyavama and Uddhava. And then Lord Krishna again worships Narada Muni by standing up, offering seat, doing Abhishek to his feet, and then giving him food to eat. Like that, he honors Narada Muni again in this palace also. And he asks Narada Muni, when did you arrive? My dear Brahmana, please make my life auspicious. Like that, Krishna is saying to Brahmana, Narada Muni. So we also need to learn from this that how we should also respect and honor Brahmana Vaishnavas, like our spiritual master, sadhus, great devotees, sincere devotees, senior devotees who come to our home. We respect them, honor them, and we should be in the mood that they're actually doing me a favor by coming to my home. They're actually purifying my home by coming. We need to have that consciousness that they're benefiting us, not the consciousness that now he's coming, only if I give food, he will eat or I need to give him donation like that. It's depend on my resources, not like that. We're actually fortunate and grateful, and we can be indebted to their coming to our home like that. That's a principle we can learn from here also. Going to the next section. Okay. Then, after Narada Muni visited Rukmini's palace and then Satyama's palace, and then he visits many other palaces to see what is going on there. Interestingly, in the next palace, Narada saw that Krishna was playing with his children, taking care of his children, petting his small children like an affectionate father would do. Not like maid servants, you take care of them. Not like that. He's personally taking care. And another palace, Lord Krishna is going to take bath, it seems. So like that, there are a couple of slides summarizing so many verses in these chapters that essentially Krishna is doing different activities. Maybe I will tell one principle first and then we'll go through these activities. That will make more sense, I think. But let me go to one thing. Yeah, this is one important principle and lesson I want to share. This is from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. So basically the lesson is that when we are seeing Krishna's activities, how are we supposed to take the activities like that? That is the important principle we need to learn. When we understand this, then when we are hearing Krishna Katha, when we are reading Krishna Katha, then we actually can be inspired in our bhakti. And also we'll do the ordinary dharma, material duties also nicely like that. So basically Krishna's activities are classified into two types. Exemplary activities, that means he's showing an example of what we should do. And then trans-exemplary activities, which is showing the activities that only he can do. We cannot do those activities. So examples of such activities are doing Rasa Leela or lifting Govardhan Giri, like that kind of activities that only he can do, such transcendental great activities, wonderful activities. And then exemplary means the activities that we should do probably at a smaller scale. Examples are like charity, household duties that he was doing, and occupational duties, like that. So the reason I'm explaining this first is so that way when we're reading those activities, when we're hearing those activities, we can understand, oh, I need to follow that example. Oh, wow, Krishna is amazing. He's so lovable. Like that, we need to get inspired. That's why I'm sharing this first before we go to the activities. So when Krishna does exemplary activities that we should follow, and if we imitate those, imitate is not in the negative sense, imitate in the sense like following those activities in our context, how much we can do in our level like that. If we do that, that is what is desirable. And then that is what helps us to stay in the path of dharma also. Because like see Krishna, we just talked about how Krishna received the Brahmana Vaishnavas. Like that, we can also learn that principle. Then we'll see more activities on this. Then, but instead, if you only take inspiration, but we don't follow that, then that is not desirable. That is undesirable. Because then we'll not have any discipline, we'll not follow any dharma. There's no transformation that we can expect also. That is what is going on with the exemplary activities. Similarly, trans-exemplary activity means those transcendental activities which are almost impossible for us to do. So such activities, when we hear about them, if you try to follow them, then that is not good. That is undesirable. That means that leads to degradation. Example given is Sahajiism. That means, oh, Krishna does Rasa Leela. I'm a devotee of Krishna, so I should represent Krishna nicely. So I should also do Rasa Leela. So Prabhupada says that that's not Rasa Leela, that is Raska Leela, like that Prabhupada says. So that is one activity. Whereas same wonderful activity, extraordinary activities that Krishna is doing, when we wow, Krishna is doing such wonderful activities. No wonder he is Supreme Lord. Uh, like that, when we get awe and inspiration to develop devotion for him, to develop prema for him, that is what is recommended for us when we see such kind of activities. So how do you know which activities we should follow, which all activities we should just take inspiration and develop love for him? That is by following our Guru and Sadhu. That's why when we see such activities, why is Krishna doing like that? Am I supposed to follow like that? Then Guru and Sadhu will help us to understand, is that meant to be followed or not like that? And then, so basically through Krishna Lila, we can be inspired towards Dharma, that means following Dharma in this world, and towards Prema, to develop our relationship with Krishna also. That means functionally, we can function responsibly in this world by following the example of Krishna, by following the exemplary activities of Krishna, and then we can progress steadily toward Krishna by gaining inspiration for the trans-exemplary activities that he's doing. That way we can develop inspiration towards Krishna and develop our Krishna prema like that. That is what the main lesson we can learn. Now, going to some of the activities we'll go through. So you see, essentially, is doing some of the activities that are prescribed for the householders. So offering oblations to the sacrificial fires in Vedic culture, that used to be recommended. because there's something called Pancha Yagna. I forgot the full name. Some Pancha Mahayagna or something like that. Prabhupada writes in one of the purports also. So that is, oh, it's here, 5 Mahayagnas. Yeah. So these are recommended for householders because we engage in some kind of violence without intending so. For example, by lighting fire, by even putting water from the pitcher into glass, by even breathing like that. So that's why we are recommended to do sacrifice. But now for us, of course, Srila Prabhupada clarifies for us that our best sacrifice in this age is Sankirtan Yajna, chanting the holy name like that. And then feeding the Brahmanas, this is something we can follow. And eating remnants of Brahmanas, we can follow. Whenever another principle Prabhupada shares in some of the purports is whenever Brahmana comes for us, Krishna conscious devotees, it is Brahmana Vaishnavas, not just ordinary Brahmanas. Like that, Prabhupada writes in some of the purports. Not in this chapter, but generally. Then he's chanting the Gayatri Mantra. In our case, if we got the second initiation, we should benefit from that, chanting Gayatri Mantra. And then practicing sword, riding horses. Why is he doing this? This is his occupational duty. As a prince, he's training himself to keep himself fit so that he can readily fight any time like that. Similarly, we do our office work nicely as following Krishna. Actually, this is one example of imitation versus following that our acharyas explained. Imitation means we try to do exactly what they are doing without thinking, am I eligible for that? Am I qualified for that? Is it suitable for my Krishna consciousness currently? Without thinking, that following is imitating. But following means we understand the principle that Supreme Lord or his pure devotees are doing, are following in their life, and then take the principle and adapt in our life appropriately based on the context that we are in. So that's why I'm describing how practicing sword, riding horses, those are like occupational duty for Krishna. For us, our occupational duty is doing office work or whatever means of maintenance we have, like that. And then resting on the bed, consultation with Uddhava. So we can also consult with our mentor and guru on important decisions, and doing water sports. That means we also can have some recreation as long as regulated. Water is needed for our body and mind to be satisfied currently, not too much. And then as a householder, one of the responsibilities is to give charity of cows to Brahmanas. We may not be able to give cows to Brahmanas currently, but we can give charity like Prabhupada recommends in several places. We can give charity to Brahmana Vaishnavas who are dedicated in spreading the holy name, spreading Krishna Katha, spreading Krishna's glories like that. We can always give whatever our capacity allows. And then we can always offer charity for cow protection. For example, some temples do cow protection nicely, like Gita Nagari, for example, New Vrindavan, for example, here, or the one in Florida by Bhakti Charso Maharaj, like that. Some places wherever we know they're genuine, we can find out and give donations for cow protection. And see, he was also listening to Puranas to set an example. So we can also learn to do Sravanam every day as much as we can. That is through hearing Vani or hearing Sri Prabhupada purports from books also, from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, like that. And he was also exchanging joking words with wife. So this is, and ritualistic ceremonies with wife. So this is basically taking care of family nicely, not just taking care of my own things, my office work. That's it. My health, my food. I don't care about anybody. Not like that. He's caring for family also. In Satyabhama's home, we saw he was taking care of children affectionately. Also, we heard, right? Like that, he's engaging in economic development also. That means whatever is activity for sustenance of our life, like office duty for many of us, we should do. And then enjoying family life as per the Shastra, not whimsically. That means following the regulations of the Shastra given to us in family life also. And then he was sitting alone and meditating on Supreme Lord. This is one of the activity we should be careful to take the principle, not the detail. So that means in case of Krishna, he's meditating on himself. Now we should not say, oh, see, Krishna is meditating on himself. I will also meditate on myself. That is the imitation versus following. Whereas following is Krishna is meditating Supreme Lord, but Supreme Lord is himself. That's why he's meditating. Prabhupada clarifies for us. So now we also meditate on the Supreme Lord, not on ourselves like that. That is a principle we can learn again. And then he was doing menial service to elders. That is a feature we can learn from Krishna. We also respect elders, serve elders nicely. They don't need to be our family members. They can be even in society also. When somebody is old, we need to respect them and serve them, because the fact they're old is not just the age. Many of them have so much relations to share with us. So much, even if they don't have relations to share with us, they have blessings that they can give us. So when we respect elders and serve elders, we can accumulate so many blessings that will help us in our growing of Krishna consciousness also. Even if they're not devotees, if they bless us, we can get some benefit in Krishna consciousness also. Then again is the occupational duties, planning for battles, making peace plans. These are all related to his occupation as a prince. And same thing, pondering for the welfare of people. We also can cultivate this habit. What can I do? Is there something I can do for others today? Like that we can consider. The least thing we can do is pray for others. Best thing we can do is find out what they need in growing in their bhakti, and see if we can be an instrument. If they allow us to be part of their spiritual life, only then, and then we can approach and help them, serve them in whatever way we can, like that. And then he was also doing household duties, engaging in marriage ceremonies of his children and grandchildren, seeing daughters and son-in-law coming to festivals and going from home after festivals. He is also engaging in worship of the demigods as a general grihastha, as part of the Vedic culture. But in our case, we know the best thing is to worship Supreme Lord directly. But even you probably know in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are places like 5th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describes how some worship demigods as a representative of Krishna properly, and the worship goes to Krishna, like that is also described in the Srimad Bhagavatam some places. But for us, best is to worship Krishna. Why? Our consciousness is not pure currently. So we might ask something impure to demigods. Then we get into the, instead of elevating Krishna consciousness, we degrade ourselves. And he was doing activities for public welfare also. So we also can see what can I contribute to society, given my strengths, given my understanding of Krishna consciousness, how can I help others? Little bit, little bit, little bit. And hunting expedition, this is again to sharpen his skills for of his office work. Similarly, for us, we can also see what trainings I need to do. Not too much training that we don't benefit from them, but take the right training, right certifications that are needed for office life, so that way we can progress, but not waste too much time also. Then moving in disguise to know what people are thinking about him. This is also related to his occupational duty, like that. Whereas kings are supposed to know what others are thinking about him, like that. So they can change anything in the administration. They can make some change in system, like that. Now, when Narada Muni saw all these different activities that Krishna is doing personally, he is amazed. So notice in the Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, Krishna showed his Virat Rupa and also Kala Rupa. That means Virat Rupa in terms of how he's all pervading in terms of space, Krishna was showing him. And not only that, he was also showing how he's all pervading in terms of time. That means he was showing what is happening in the future. In the future, all the soldiers will die. They're going into the mouths of Virat Rupa, like that it shows also. Similarly, here, Krishna is not only simultaneously monitoring, manifesting himself in different palaces in terms of space, but is also manifesting time differently at different places. How is that so? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentary is quoted in some of the purports, how some of the activities described are for morning, it seems. Some of the activities are described for afternoon. Some of the activities are described for evening. Whereas Narada Muni is going one after another right now, in few minutes, few hours only. He's not waiting from morning to evening all the way to go from one palace to another palace. That is showing Krishna is manifesting different times also, it seems. That's what Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was describing. Yeah, then going to the next point. Now we understand, he says, Narada is saying, now we understood your mystic potencies, which are inconceivable. Only by serving your lotus feet, I can perceive your power. This is an important point Prabhupada tries to emphasize as a theme in many times. That only through bhakti, only by service to Krishna, Krishna will empower us, Krishna will give mercy. That way only we can pursue Krishna's unlimited power, some of it, not everything. Because Krishna's power is unlimited. Unlimited means we cannot know. But we can pursue some of it. His glory is only a little bit, but only by Krishna's mercy when we serve him in bhakti. Then Narada Muni says, I will go around 3 worlds now. I will loudly sing your glories everywhere. That your glories will purify the universe, like that Narada Muni is saying. And then Krishna responds, actually, it is described, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says to this, oh my God, you are actually Supreme Lord. I made you wash my feet. It's an offense for me. What to do? Oh my God, like that Narada Muni is feeling, it seems. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, that's why Krishna is speaking this verse, where he's saying, don't worry, I'm the speaker, not only the speaker of Dharma, I also perform Dharma to set an example for the others. And also I sanction dharmic activities. So I observe dharma to teach the dharmic principles to the world. So it's not an offense on your part because I worshipped you like a Brahmana, being a Kshatriya. So it's absolutely okay. So you didn't make any offense like that. Krishna is assuring himself. So the main theme here is, although Krishna is transcendental and beyond all the worldly customs, he doesn't need to follow any of these things. But Krishna performed all the duties of a regulated householder life to set an example for all of us grihasthas, for many of us grihasthas. That is what is the main theme in this chapter we learnt. So now Narada Muni, after seeing Krishna executing those grihastha activities, and Krishna honors Narada Muni with various gifts, and then Narada Muni understands that Krishna imitated like human beings with for the benefit of all, as to set an example. So Krishna enjoyed in 16,000 palaces with queens who served the Lord with their shy, affectionate glances and laughter, it seems. So the main falastuti for this chapter is anybody who chants or hears or glorifies or even appreciates the activities of the Supreme Lord that we are hearing, which are impossible to imitate for all of us, will surely develop the devotion. That is the falastuti for this section. Next chapter is connected to this. Some more Krishna's daily activities are given in this. In first few verses are talking about different other activities of Krishna in different other palaces, and Krishna's activities in this job, like going to assembly hall of Sudharma hall. And then next section, one messenger comes with a message from a kings who were imprisoned by Jarasandha. And then Narada Muni also arrives at after some time. We'll discuss that a little bit more detail. So, in the first section, some more daily activities are described. In this section, Krishna getting up in the morning is described. Actually, Krishna is sleeping with his queens, but as soon as the morning Brahma Muhurta happens, the cock says kukuruku, like that, right? We hear that at least in the stories and movies, at least in India. I didn't have the opportunity to hear that so often. But apparently that cock that makes a sound right in the early morning hours. That is a sign for villagers to wake up and do their duties like that. Similarly, as soon as that makes a sound, Krishna wakes up, it seems, from the bed. Even though queens are not inclined for Krishna to go away, because they know once Krishna gets up, they're separated from him, so they don't want Krishna to leave them. So that's why it's described in the section that queens were very disturbed in the morning, that they're going to lose Krishna's association, like that it says. But Krishna did not sacrifice his duties for the sake of some comfort for him and family members. This is another lesson we can learn. Obviously, it doesn't have to be always like that. But main principle is our spiritual priorities should not be shaken up, should be honored. Spiritual commitment should be honored while taking care of the family simultaneously nicely, but not at the cost of our spiritual life. Our taking care of the family should not cost our spiritual life. That's another thing. Of course, there are always emergencies. For example, one of the days our child might be need to go to emergency hospital. So we might have to sacrifice some spiritual program that day. That's absolutely okay, but not in a broad perspective, broad time frame. We should not be engaged in that like that. Means we should understand what are our priorities and stick to the priorities. Yeah, for all our decisions. And then Krishna will get up. It's described in this section how Krishna takes bath early in the morning. Krishna decorates himself. Krishna meditates on himself. We discussed like that. Krishna does his morning rituals, including giving, offering obeisances to elders there, giving charity to different kinds of people, like that. And then finally boards the chariot to go to his office, which is the Sudharma Hall, Assembly Hall. We'll see that coming up, yeah, in this next section. So interestingly, Gauranga Prabhu was describing, I think, if I remember correctly, that now Krishna is getting out of each of the home, 16,100 palaces to go to his assembly. That is his office, like that, right? So when he gets into the chariot now, all these Krishnas will combine to become one Krishna, and he goes to the assembly hall, it seems. That's one thing I heard from Gauranga Prabhu describing like that. And then so when he enters that Sudharma Hall is not ordinary. Krishna got it from the heavenly planets actually. It protects the people from 6 waves of material life. What are the 6 waves of material life? In the purport is described like hunger, thirst, illusion, lamentation, like that kind of things are described. And among all the Yadus in the assembly hall, he was like moon amidst the stars, like that. Is the most effulgent personality, like that. And then there are people who are ready to entertain him by displaying comic moods, by singing for him, by performing music, by dancing energetically, by performing magic for his pleasure. And Brahmanas chant Vedic mantras, and there are bards who glorify Krishna and all the previous past pious kings also, it seems. Like that, these are activities that happen in the Sudharma assembly hall. And then going further, now, while Krishna is in the assembly hall taking care of his duties, occupational duty, then one messenger suddenly comes up. Who is this messenger? This messenger is coming from kingdom of Magadha. And Magadha is where the king is Jarasandha. Uh, so, many of you might know, Jarasandha was the father-in-law of Kamsa. So, that means Kamsa's wives are Jarasandha's daughters. So that means at 17 times Jarasandha came to attack Krishna previously, but one time he left him alone because he was wanting to go to meet Rukmini. That's what is described. So that's why that Jarasandha, who has so much enmity towards Krishna, he imprisoned 20,000 kings, it seems, who did not submit to him. And those 20,000 kings who were in the prison somehow managed to send a messenger to Krishna, asking them, requesting him to come, please deliver us, like that. So now these are some beautiful prayers that kings offer to Krishna through the messenger. So messenger is reading these prayers. I summarized this in simple way. They're originally in the mm, long purports, long translations also. Of course, some of it I took it from Bhagavata Pravaha course that Gauranga Prabhu shares also. Some of them I summarized from here, but some of them I added from the BBD purports and translations also in this section. Basically, they are saying, we come to you for shelter so that we can be out of the fear of this material existence, like that. Notice, while we hear the prayers, they're not just asking to get rid of the distress. They're asking for ultimate goal also. To get out of this material world also they're asking. That's a nice thing to remember. There's a lesson for us. So they're saying, many people engage in sinful activity. They forget the real duty, which is to worship you, the paradharma. As time you cut stubborn hopes of long life in this material world for them. And you only descend to protect saintly people and punish the wicked people. So we cannot understand how anybody can transgress your law and still continue to enjoy fruits of his work. They're talking about Jarasandha. This is a common question people have, right? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do good things happen to bad people? They didn't do anything good at all. They're always causing trouble to others. How come they're enjoying so much? The common question, right? They're also asking like that. They're saying in a sense, we are saintly, we're your devotees, we're supposed to be protected, and these demons like Jarasandha should be killed. Why is he surviving so much like that nicely, enjoying like that life? But why are we imprisoned like this, suffering? That's what they're asking in essence. And then he says, like corpse, we bear burden of relative happiness of kings, which is like dream. That means we think, oh, I'm king. So that way we're feeling happy like that. But actually, we're rejecting the real happiness of the soul, which is offering selfless service to you. We simply, under the spell of illusory Maya, that's why we think we're happy. I'm a king, so I'm happy like that. King needs to do a lot of work. So then he says, they say, since we surrender to you, please release us from the shackles of karma, not just shackles of Jarasandha. Shackles of karma manifest as Jarasandha. So in this verse, they're asking them to release them from the Jarasandha. So if you notice, I might have mentioned this in previous calls also, previous class also. They are first glorifying Krishna. They're appreciating Krishna's position as how he can give shelter, how he's capable of giving shelter, glorifying that capability of Krishna as protector and maintainer like that. And then they're explaining the situation and expressing their fear. And then finally they're placing a request before Krishna. So please help us like that. And then they're explaining about Jarasandha's pride. They say, you actually crushed Jarasandha in battle so many times, but one time you left him alone, and and you allowed him to defeat you one time. Now he is so much filled with pride that he is daring to torment us. We're actually your subjects, so we are in your party. So, but he's troubling us even. How dare he can do that? Please rectify the situation like that. They say. Basically, there's seeking protection from Krishna, explaining that they are surrendered to him, and there is devotees like that. While the messenger gives this news to Krishna from the kings, asking Krishna to come and deliver them, suddenly Narada Muni appears there also on the scene. And then Krishna receives Narada Muni with all respect according to scriptural injunctions, like the same principles he follows again like that. Of getting up from the seat, offering him a seat, washing his feet. He even puts the water on his head like that. So many things he does according to scriptural injunctions. And then after Krishna receives Narada Muni nicely, Krishna glorifies Narada Muni. Remember, this is one of the important thing about guest reception also. When a guest comes to our home, one of the components of reception is speaking sweet words also. Not just giving them a seat, not just giving them water, not just giving them a place to rest depending upon the time they come, not just giving them the food if they're hungry like that, but also offering sweet words is also important. So it's glorifying. You bring fearlessness to all the three worlds and nothing is unknown to you. You know everything. So can you please tell me about what Pandavas are intending to do next? As if Krishna doesn't know anything. Krishna is playing like human being. Krishna is playing in the mood of a submissive Kshatriya before a Brahmana Vaishnava like Narada Muni. He's asking, what are Pandavas up to? Please tell me, like that they ask him. Then Narada Muni glorifies Lord Krishna like anything. He says, you come by your own will, you maintain everything, you create everything, maintain everything, you destroy everything. You descend only by your will. That too to show souls the path, how to get to you, how to get delivered. That path you are showing them by coming here. And like that, after he glorifies with many verses, then finally he says, Yudhishthira Maharaj is desiring to glorify you and he wants to worship you with Rajasuya sacrifice like that. Rajasuya sacrifice is greatest of all sacrifices is described in that verse actually. So basically, and Narada Muni says, all the demigods are going to come. If you come, you will purify everybody. So please come. They're wanting to you to come so that they can worship you at the Rajasuya sacrifice. That is what the point Narada Muni shared now. So now two things happen. One is the messenger from Jarasandha's imprisoned kings came and told one point, request that please come and release from Jarasandha's imprisonment. Second is Narada Muni is telling that Pandavas are desiring for you to go there so that they can do Rajasuya sacrifice. Two requests came now. Is important. Coming two chapters are connected to that point. Then the Yadus actually were not happy that Narada Muni is saying, Krishna, we should go to Pandavas. They're not happy. They said, no, 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 no. How can you go? Let us go first fight Jarasandha, like that they're saying. Because they were so powerful, being the descendants of Krishna and born in that family also, they they were itching for fight. They want to fight with Jarasandha. Kshatriyas sometimes are very brave and they were really love fighting. In fact, it's described in the Vedic culture, Kshatriyas didn't even bother whether fighting from this side or that side, it seems. Because there's so much love the fighting, it seems. Like that, they were so much eager to defeat Jarasandha. They said, don't listen to Narada. It doesn't say like that. Basically, they're not happy with Narada Muni's proposal and they're not ready to make that move like that. Then Krishna brings in the picture. So he says, let us seek the counsel or guidance of Uddhava. I think that's where this chapter ends. Let me go. Yeah, this lesson we discussed already. So now the chapter 71 is describing the travel of Krishna with his queens, children, and all the family members and relatives going to Indraprastha, where Yudhishthira Maharaj invited them so that he can do Rajasuya sacrifice. So these are three broad sections. First section is Uddhava. Remember, Krishna is asking in the previous chapter, let us ask Uddhava for advice, counsel. So now Uddhava advises Krishna and Yadus. What does he advise? That is the first section. Next section is actual Krishna's travel to Indraprastha with the queens and children. And then next section is after they went to Indraprastha, how did Yudhishthira Maharaj receive? How did the Queen Draupadi Maharani receive? How did the Kunti Devi receive? How did the citizens receive Krishna and the queens and the children and others who came with them? Like that is the third section. It's a simple section. We'll go through them. So, in the first section, Uddhava says, actually, it is important you listen to Pandava's request that Rajasuya sacrifice, they want you to come. It's important you should do that. It is also important that you should kill Jarasandha because the messenger came. So both of those you should do. Then how can you do both? Which one should do first? Which one to do second? Then he tells the principle. Uddhava says something nice. He says, one who conquers all opponents can do Rajasuya sacrifice. So that means, conquering Jarasandha will serve both purposes. Meaning, Yudhishthira want to do Rajasuya sacrifice. But in order to do Rajasuya sacrifice, you need to conquer all the enemies. There should not be anybody opposing you. Only then you can do Rajasuya sacrifice. So that means, before he does Rajasuya sacrifice, you need to kill Jarasandha anyway, conquer, either kill or make him to be submit to Yudhishthira Maharaj's rule. So, like that, he says, basically he's saying that both need to be done. Anyway, Jarasandha killing has to be done before Rajasuya sacrifice. So both need to be done. Both are suitable like that. So this is another important principle for us to learn. Sometimes we are caught up in the decisions as this or that, this or that, this or that, this or that only. Sometimes this and that also can be done. That we need to consider when we're considering options sometimes. So that's how he's explaining. Obviously, only one or two things he can do first. But how to do that also he tells now. He, in the next set of verses, is giving a plan to kill Jarasandha. What does he say? He says, actually, Jarasandha has so much power, like tens of thousands of elephants power he has, strength he has. So only Bhima is equal to his strength on the Pandavas. And he says, You cannot, no one can defeat Jarasandha when he's with all his army, a lot of military he has. But if somebody, Bhima fights with him one-on-one, then for a dual match it's called also. So match of single chariots, then he can defeat him like that. So what Bhima should do is, normally he will fight with the whole army. So instead, Bhima should go disguised as Brahmana and then beg from him charity. What is the charity he should beg from Jarasandha? Please fight with me one-on-one like that. That whole plan he gives. What does it mean indirectly? First, Krishna needs to go to Indraprastha, number one. Then he needs to tell Yudhishthira this plan and take Bhima from there. Also, Arjuna, of course, that will hear. And then go to Jarasandha. That means where to go first is resolved. Then what to do first is resolved, which is where to go first is Indraprastha. What to do first is killing Jarasandha. And after that, come back here and do Rajashu sacrifice like that. So Uddhava is expert like that, is asking concept. So this is another principle that Acharyas emphasize, that Krishna wants to give credit to his devotees, Uddhava. Not that Krishna could not think of a plan. Krishna wants to give credit to his devotees. Krishna wants to glorify his devotees, pure devotees like Uddhava. So that's why he is asking his counsel, Uddhava's counsel like that in this case. Uddhava is an exalted personality, we know. He is Brihaspati's disciple. Brihaspati is the teacher of the demigods also. And Uddhava was one of the cousins of Krishna, we know from the previous sessions, probably you might have heard. And then next section is elaborately describing the travel arrangements done by Krishna's family members like that. Krishna calls people, chariot drivers, to prepare everything, and then Krishna takes permission from all the superiors nicely, and they all go with great pomp. And Krishna tells the messenger first, the first messenger before Narada Muni came, right? He tells him, I wish all good fortune to you. So he is blessing him. I wish all good fortune to you, number one. And he says, I will arrange killing of Jarasandha. Don't worry. Tell them, do not fear. Like that, he sends a message back to the kings who are imprisoned in Jarasandha's place. And then messenger leaves like that. And then actually Narada Muni also leaves at that time. And then Pandavas, when Krishna, queens and children, everybody reaches Indraprastha, Pandavas receive them wonderfully. Whole city was decorated with so many nice decorations. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj raises up from his throne immediately, and he comes personally to receive Krishna, and he embraces him very dearly. Same thing was done by Bhima also. And then Nakula Sahadeva offer obeisance to Krishna because they're younger to Krishna. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, when Krishna embraces Yudhishthira Maharaj feels transcendental bliss and ecstasy like that. And then all the citizens came, welcomed Krishna with various gifts. Brahmanas glorified Krishna like anything. And Draupadi personally worshipped the queens. Kunti also received everybody nicely. And then the end of the chapter describes how, you probably heard this story from the Bhagavata chapter 1, where one of the signs of victory signs of Pandavas is that Agnidev given chariot like that. And then in that context, there is a description of how Mayadanava is saved. Basically, Krishna and Arjuna one time, they were at one place, and then near Khandava forest. Then Agnidev, because he was having indigestion because of too much ghee being offered in fire sacrifices, he wants to devour that Khandava forest so that all the herbs will digest the food that he took through sacrifices. That time, when he's trying to do that, Indra was trying to protect. So that way, he's putting rain. So that time, Krishna and Arjuna takes care of the Agnidev like that. I believe that is the pastime here. If somebody knows something different, please let me know. I forgot how Mayadanava was involved in this pastime. Anybody remembers how Mayadanava was involved? I can look up.
Yeah, I think Arjun gave shelter to that Maidana from being burnt. That's how he favored. That's how he favored Pandavas. That's what I recall.
Got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Pandavas were hiding there, and then kind of he was given shelter by Arjuna that he will not be burnt like that.
Okay, he gave shelter to Arjuna, gave shelter to Maidanava.
Yes,
Got it. Thank you,
that's
Prabhu.
what I recall.
Yeah, I'll also look up. I forgot that in that story myself. I'll look up. I cannot find the purport quickly. I'll find that. It should be, yeah, it says in 44, 45 verses says, during his stay, he and Arjuna satisfied the fire god by offering him the kind of forest, and they saved Mahadanava, who then built King Yudhishthira. Okay. Uh, Yeah, basically, yeah, you're right, Prabhu. Mahadanava was about to be burnt in that fire, it seems. That's when Krishna saved Mahadanava from that fire, it seems, that forest fire. So that's why Mahadanava helped them in building the palaces and everything nicely like that. Okay, so going to the next chapter. That brings us to next chapter. This chapter is uh, the last chapter for today, slaying of demon Jarasandha. This is a simple chapter. Basically, Yudhishthira Maharaj, now that Krishna arrived in Indraprastha, everybody received them nicely, and then everybody honored them. All that is described, right? And then now what happens is Yudhishthira Maharaj is another nice thing I like. Yudhishthira Maharaj is presenting his request that Krishna, I want to perform Rajasuya Yagna. Please preside on this occasion. Like that is requesting personally. So if you notice, this is one of common theme I observed in Srimad Bhagavatam, many places, that when a guest comes, as soon as he comes, they don't trouble them with all sorts of questions right away. They first let them settle down, or like sitting place, food, some rest like that. Then later on they ask them. That's a nice thing to learn. Sometimes people start asking questions while they see somebody outside only. So they don't give us place to breathe, they give them water to drink. They keep on asking, talking. Like that. So this is a nice thing that I thought we can learn also. So this Maharaj glorifies Krishna first, and then he asks him that we want to perform Rajasuya Yagna like that. Then Lord Krishna appreciates Yudhishthira Maharaj's plans. He's actually, Lord Krishna also glorifies Yudhishthira Maharaj and says, your plans will go through successfully, like that he says. And then he guides him, Krishna guides him that send Pandavas to conquer all the directions, but there's one Jarasandha we need to take care of. So Uddhava gave this plan. He shares that plans with Yudhishthira Maharaj also. Then, after the plan is shared, Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna personally go to approach Jarasandha. How do they go? They don't go like Kshatriyas. They go in a like a Brahmanas, disguised like a Brahmanas, like that. And they go before Jarasandha, they beg for charity. But Jarasandha is smart. He understood by seeing the marks of the apparently Kshatriyas, because they're carrying bows and arrows, that bow string will leave a mark, it seems, on the shoulder. And they don't wear shirts like us, right? They usually, we see, at least in the movies I see, they have the open most of the time here. They have some cloth here or ornaments like that. So by seeing the marks and by seeing their belt, he understood these are Kshatriyas, these are not Brahmanas, he understood, it seems. But Jarasandha, even though he has demoniac personality, he was following Vedic culture of respecting Brahmanas. And he was so magnanimous in terms of giving charity, it seems. So even though you're Kshatriyas, but because you came disguised as Brahmanas, I give you my word. I'll give you charity, he says. Even before they're asking what they want as charity also. So that's another interesting thing. Then uh, Jarasandha finally says, I agree to give charity, like that. Then what does Krishna ask? Krishna asks for a dual fight. Remember, Uddhava said, no one can defeat him if he comes with all the army, but Bhima can defeat him if he comes one by one, like one on one, like that. So Krishna asks him for a dual fight. But Jarasandha says, oh Krishna, you are like coward. You ran away from the battlefield last time I fighted with you. So you're not a good match for him. Oh, this Arjuna, he looks thin. is not equal in power to me. I don't want to fight with him. Oh, this Bhima is equal in strength to me. I'll fight with him, like that he says. So finally he agrees to fight with Bhima. So Bhima and Jarasandha fight for so many days regularly. Evening is treating them like guests nicely. Daytime they fight both. Like that they fighting one on one. Finally, Krishna gives the guidance to Bhima how to kill Jarasandha. The guidance he gives is he takes a twig from the tree and he breaks the twig into two pieces like this, splits it into two pieces like that. One twig he splits into two pieces. By that he's showing that you should take him apart like that into two parts. And then Bhima does that and he gets he killed like that. The background for this is, many of you might know, Jarasandha name itself signifies, they say in his childhood, he was born in two pieces, it seems. So the parents threw him in the forest. Basically, the two parts they threw in forest. What can they do like that? Then one demoness called Jara, she took those two parts and combined, it seems. And that's how she gave life to this guy. That's why it's called Jarasandha. Because his life came like that by joining, by splitting, his life went away. So again we see, only by Krishna's mercy, Pandavas become glorious, victorious always. And Krishna protects his devotees always. Krishna favors his devotees also. And he's also favoring not because of devotees, he also wants to respect Dharma. And the Jarasandha was very envious towards Krishna. So he's destroying Jarasandha also. Again, by giving credit to Bhima, one of his devotees, like that. That is the nature of Bhakta Vatsala, nature of Krishna, again, like that. So that's where we end this chapter. I wanted to, yeah, I missed the other portion here of, so these are some of the references I was looking at. Chaitanya Charana Prabhuji classes in Bhagavata Sravana course. Okay. So these are all the references I had, apart from Srila Prabhupada purports in BBD purports. It's not Srila Prabhupada, BBD purports in Srimad Bhagavatam we have. So that's what we essentially we learned the whole bunch of things today. One is about Narada Muni coming to Dvaraka, and we saw the magnificent opulence of Krishna and the Supreme Lord nature of Supreme Lord, how he can manifest as so many people like that. No ordinary person can do. Is showing his supremacy. And then after that, we saw how he's setting an example, and we learned about how different activities of Krishna, and specifically we learned how we are supposed to take the activities of Krishna. Some we need to follow as an example. Some activities we need to take as inspiration. Wow, I need to worship him. I need to develop love for him, like that. And then we can get guidance from Guru and Sadhu for that purpose, like that. When we do that, then we actually responsibly function in this world with Dharma and progress towards Krishna Prema also, that is required for beyond this world, like that. And then we heard about how Krishna took the advice of Uddhava in resolving the apparent contradiction, whether to go kill Jarasandha or whether to go do Rajasuya sacrifice. And Uddhava resolved nicely by Krishna's mercy. And then Krishna and his family members are received nicely at Indraprastha, we heard. And then finally we heard about how Krishna supported Bhima and Arjuna, and in turn Yudhishthira Maharaj to kill Jarasandha. So that way there is no impediment for Yudhishthira Maharaj to do the Rajasuya sacrifice. So those are the some essential storyline for today. Anyone has any comments or questions or any corrections, please share now.
Narada Prabhuji. It was so nice compilation. My only request is that, these PPTs and everything,
Yeah,
to us.
absolutely, Prabhu. I'll send it to you,
Uh,
Prabhu.
you know,
Absolutely.
when we study at home, this kind of compilation, it's very good help us study guide. So
Sure,
that
Prabhu. Absolutely.
all not every speaker who gives such kind of guidelines is very much helpful in later studies, and kind of retains more when you study like this. For example, these ones which we have compiled, about Lord Krishna's activities. Nowhere to be found. This is the first time I'm seeing it. So this kind of compilation and giving gist of the chapters and everything is really very it boosts our memory about Lord Krishna's leelas like that. So I'm just requesting that. So,
absolutely, bro. Yeah, thank you, bro. Yeah, it's all the mercy of devotees only. I took the resources like I mentioned here. From these resources only I could collect all that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much,
so
bro.
this, I call it the electronic sadhu sangha.
Yes,
Because
absolutely. Yeah.
it is so helpful, because in some parts of the world, we cannot get, erudite scholars giving lectures, very often. So this is how it is very helpful to us. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Most welcome, bro. Yeah, thank you, bro. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, otherwise we can end here. We'll all meet again tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kupasindubhyevacha patitanam
Patitanav
pavanebhyo namo
Vaishnavyo
namaha.
Namo Namah.
Thank
Srila
you, devotees.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.